Hello and welcome to not an interview. It's more of a brand new thing, sort of experimental thing I'm trying out here. I've got zeFrosty and I've got Ombrack, both fresh back from Great Gamers Assembly LAN in Poitiers, which is in France. Uh, Last weekend was Easter. A lot of everyone was just eating chocolate and stuff, but there was actually TF2 being played on LAN, which it's probably the smallest scale LAN out of the three three per year that there are, if you include Rewind and Insomnia. But yeah, I guess we'll start with the LAN. Uh, zeFrosty, you had a longer journey to get there.
I
How
did,
did you
yes.
how did you find the travel? How did you find the LAN itself,
It
personally?
wasn't too bad, to be honest. I mean, I set off on the Thursday, so I already had a plane to Paris, so I stayed over there for one night and then just got the train down, and it was all fine. I mean, getting there wasn't too bad, but getting back was, because I decided to get a train at 9 o'clock in the morning, which barely got me to my flight. But unfortunately, I missed the train, so I even barely like 20 minutes before the plane took off, I actually made it there. So yeah, there was just a bit of poor planning on my point, but nah, the travel was all right.
Ombrack, did you bring your own PC and stuff, or yeah, like how much of the stuff was organized by Nerd Rage, if anything?
We ask Nordrich nothing pretty much because, like as you know, they're sponsored, so they take a percentage of your wins, and we wouldn't like it wasn't good enough for us. We wouldn't get any PC or stuff like that. We already paid for the tickets and stuff, so we said okay, we're good for this one. See you at I-61. That was pretty much the plan. They gave us money for I-61, and we could handle ourselves. So we all took our PCs, except Corback, I guess, who rented one at the venue, and we were good to go.
When you both actually arrived at the LAN, what was the atmosphere like? Presumably, it's a lot more like low key or laid back than Insomnia, but then again, it might not be. I know there's like a Counter Strike tournament there as well, probably other games. So, what was the atmosphere like?
For me, I guess it was like as soon as I arrived, I was there pretty much as soon as it opened. So I got to see all like the production and stuff getting set up. But once everyone was like flooding into the hall, you could definitely tell it was it was a really nice event actually, because even though there wasn't too many TF2 players there was still loads of people playing like Counter Strike and the game that shall not be named and League of Legends and all those kind of things. So yeah, it was a really nice atmosphere. And I think I don't know, if more people went to it, it'd be a really great event.
Yeah,
And it
and
was a really great event, even with the few people that did go.
yeah, Umbrak, you're more of a veteran, really. You've been how many times now?
11 times, I think.
Wow, that's actually more than I thought. Okay, how has it gone any more low key or low scale, or has it just grown or stayed the sort of same size in your time you spent there?
I think it was the smallest LAN I've attended. Um, Team number wise, it's like we have only 4 teams, and it's the smallest tourney I've been to. Usually we have like 8 teams, 12. I think my biggest LAN was like 20 teams, so a big deal. But yeah, it was like sadly it was probably the last French LAN because there wasn't any hype on the French scene. It was really hard to get people to go to the LAN, and like hopefully we got the EU team with funds and stuff. Because if not for them, I don't even know if we could have had a tournament this year.
Yeah. Well, this next question is directed a bit more towards Umbrak. But yeah, you mentioned that there were fewer teams. So was the quality a bit lower as well, or do you think the teams were generally pretty good? How did you feel about teams like Dennis Gaming, for example?
I think you could compare this GA to the DreamHacks we had in Sweden, I guess, as in like small tournament, but the level is like as there is less teams. I think the skill is more tight. There's less gap between the better team and the lower team. So yeah, all games were actually pretty close. That which is good because you don't want a small tourney with roll all the time. Yeah, so I don't know. The level, the skill was pretty even on the other team. We expected to be a bit higher than everyone else, but Yeah, it really felt like DreamHack.
Let's get on to the actual action, the actual games that happened. zeFrosty, what games did you cast? Did you cast the grand final?
No, I didn't. The grand final was casted by Orcs TV, so it was in
Of
a
course,
language
yeah, it
that
was
90%
French.
of the community won't understand. So, but I guess the French people
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Apparently, the production wasn't as good as people were expecting as well. I didn't
No,
catch much of it myself, but
no, because I think a lot of it was done by Dashner, who's obviously a veteran of production, especially for TF2, and definitely knows what he's doing. So everything going well, despite him sort of popping up random Star Wars memes throughout the whole entire production. But apart from that, yeah, I think it was just because they weren't really sure what they were doing, and they only had maybe like 20 minutes to set up, so they didn't have all the proper like HUD layouts and all the proper things quite set up. I mean, they had like a cool wee GA GIF, but apart from that, it was pretty bare bones production, I guess.
yeah. So, I mean, gotta kind of talk about who won the tournament. It was a mix. It was a Brit mix that won the tournament. So big up Great Britain. But Nerd Rage should really have been able to handle it. I think if you look at like the last season of Prem, the number of LANs this team's attended, like this particular LAN, in fact, has attended, like they shouldn't really have lost that game, don't you think, Ombrack?
No, we shouldn't have. It's a bit trickier than just okay. We seed one. We ended third of Prem. We should have won. As I said, I think the skill was a bit more stacked than what people may expect. I think pretty much every team was composed of, if not Prem, at least top high players. So even in Dennis Gaming, they were like Enjoy Glastree and people are people that have played with us in the past in some PCWs. So yeah, the level was actually pretty stacked. But yeah, we should have take this, and we have LAN experienced. Well, do we actually? I think Korvac, Blade, and Namtak, it was their first LAN with us, and the first time they were on finals at GA. So it's a bit of a mix between experienced players such as myself and Medico and Neo, and actually people who aren't used to this kind of pressure, I think. So I don't know, the LAN went pretty well. As I said to News today, actually, we had a better LAN than they did, but they had a better finals, which is pretty odd because we should have had a good final, but I don't know, the contact was a bit hard. I think we came to the LAN expecting to win. Maybe we had reasons to believe so, but maybe we shouldn't have taken this so not lightly, but I don't know. We should have put a bit more work into it, I think. I remember after our games versus, I don't know how to call them, Winter Tactics, I guess. They were, Honey and News were reviewing their demos from the game while we were just hanging out. So I think what made the difference overall is that we came to GA as we were coming to any other LAN, so like seeing our friends just chilling around, having fun, and maybe Honey, News, Zesty, and all came a bit more driven than we did. Maybe they came to with the aim to beat us more than. I mean, they enjoyed the LAN, of course. They just met people and chilled and drank beers and stuff. But maybe in the back of the heads, they were more about winning than we did.
This is a sort of a noticeable trend now. Well, let's say trend. There's only two examples, but everyone expected you to beat Arctic Foxes as well in the main season of ETF2L. To get to the grand final.
Yeah, but I think that's a mistake. I think the way the season went favored us a lot. We had a really good season, but I think when you go behind, when you know how the season went, you can't expect us to beat Arctic Foxes. It's gonna take us a bit back, but first there was the game versus Champ that we prepared a lot, and they didn't prepare as much as we did, so that's why we won. But it was only like we won. I think we lost a map on Golden Cap, and then we won the other, so it was like only 4-2, so nothing too fancy. But that at that moment, people thought, "Oh, okay, look at this top 5. We were top 5 at the time. They can do it. Maybe they can do it." But everyone expected Champ to step up and then be the second favorites. But it didn't happen. They had bad performance, and they ended up disbanding after trying some weird stuff with kicking people and stuff. So that was the point. And then Arctic Foxes came, and we played versus 2 different teams. We beat them in the regular season, but they just picked up Adam Resco at the time, and they were playing with Psychers again, still I believe. And then in the grand final, not grand final. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. In the playoff, they played with Marosh. They had Adam for more than a month now. They were keen as fuck, if I may say so, because I know Raptor watched a lot of demos and way more than we did. So I wasn't really surprised by the fact that we lost this game. I think people who cared a little about the season or just analyzed a bit the season just expected us to lose. For me, it felt logical that we lose. Both of teams were pretty stacked. I mean, they weren't really better than us in every way. And I don't know. It made sense for us to beat them, for them to beat us. We could have beaten them, and it would have been a surprise. But I think people just thought about us as a really, really strong team, as potential contenders to 7 and stuff. And I think people just got there too fast and didn't realize that last season we ended at the 6th spot in Prem. So you can't expect a team that came 6th to just be 2nd and contest the best team of all times.
Out-keened by a shocky team in 2017.
Yeah.
zeFrosty, let me tag you in here. Who would you deem the MVP of the LAN?
The LAN?
Why? Yeah.
Probably Funds, to be honest. I mean, there was a lot of really good players. I think on top 5, Corbacks stood out to me quite a lot. I mean, you sort of look at the scoreboard and he was always sort of near the bottom, but you could see by the way he was playing that he was just so effective. But yeah, definitely Funds. I don't know. I don't think Wind Tunnel Tactics could have won without him. Not to say that anyone on that team was particularly weak. I just think he's the sort of shining player there. He was always top fragging and basically top damaging on scout a lot of the time, and basically just a walking glass cannon kind of thing that never died. So I mean, you got to give it to him. He was playing really well at this LAN.
Ombrack?
Yeah, I think Franz was the best player at the LAN. I remember at the beginning he didn't play on his PC, neither on a RAN PC. I think it's Ilosu who lent him his computer, and then he had issue with his mouth. Like he had tiny frizz and lags, and sometimes his mouth just disconnected from the PC, and he was like, "What the fuck was happening to me? I can't play." And he still went 25 for 4 on Snake Water with a disconnecting mouse. So I think that just let you imagine how good he was at this LAN. And I think he was the best player, but Corbrak has had a really great LAN as well. I think Blade had a really good LAN as well. And but it's easy to be good on the, not easy, but doable to be good on the brackets game and stuff. But all that matters in the end is the finals. And we weren't as good in the finals as we were in the regular LAN, so I think that's why Funds just was the best player.
Pretty much, yeah. All 12 players from the top 2 teams are quite known. They've all played Prem pretty much, except I think Chris, and he's played like lots of qualifiers and stuff. People know him. But in the two Brocante, I can't do this. Brocante Golfique de Limoges and Dennis Gaming. Did any players stand out to either of you as particularly interesting? Obviously, Ombrack, you probably know all of them. I'm sure that a lot of people don't know many of these players. I saw Raf having some pretty good games. So, did anyone stand out to you in these teams?
I don't know what zeFrosty caught in his cams action, but I think I heard Raf had a good LAN, with some flashy plays and stuff. But
yeah, he got a 3K on last.
Yeah, I was casting that game. I think that was probably the highlight of the LAN. It's just so funny to watch him just W in. I think he dropped 4 players in one Uber, and then he had a scout left, and then he just baited his scout a little bit, and then got a triple kill on last, and somehow won it. It was absolutely nuts. But yeah, I guess
that same game he was in drop down, like the bottom of drop down, and surfed off a rocket from I think it was Olga. Or Glacier, maybe.
I think one of the guys on Dennis Gaming, I think shot a rocket at him, and the first one didn't kill him, and then the second one he just surfed up, dropped down, and I didn't catch it, but I saw it on stream, and it was pretty crazy how he was able to surf 2 rockets and somehow still be alive.
But beside Raf, I don't exactly recall who played, but from the games I've been into, I think Amarok had a decent LAN as well. I think he shot me a few times. And to be honest, I expected a bit more from Enjoyed, which is a really good sniper, really good scout, who has played with us many times in the past and was already up to the task. And maybe I thought he would play a bit better, but again, he played medic, he played scouts, because Denny Gaming was trying to figure out which lineup would be the best for them, so they switched classes at some point. And I think Elak will pound it. I was sitting behind him at some point, and he just smashed Pappy into the air with a pipe. He had really good stickies, and I think he had a really, really strong LAN. He had a good season in Prem, so I think that just logical that he had a great LAN as well.
Yeah, Elakor was one of the few pretty bright looking players in his team, I suppose. But yeah, during Prem, I mean,
I saw Elakor at that LAN as well, and there was a lot of plays where it kind of just seemed like he hit every pipe. I don't know how he does it, but yeah, he definitely had a standout LAN, because it almost seemed like he was the anchor for his team when he was playing. It was just like, everyone go and make some position for Elakor and we'll win, kind of. That was their game plan.
Ombrack already said that he thinks the LAN's dying, but do you see a world in which this could expand into an even big, like a big deal, where we could get even like some Scandinavians or some Germans in, or do you think it's gonna die?
You mean GA?
Yeah.
I'd like to believe so. Really, I'd really do. But as how we struggle to get our teams for the LAN and stuff, I'm really worried about how it could happen. I know this LAN has been prepared as the last TF2 French LAN. I even made a speech at the end of the finals just saying, thanks people for commenting all these years and stuff, so please don't make another LAN so I don't look stupid. But no, I don't see how, unless big turn of events, I don't see how this could happen again. Maybe I'm a bit pessimistic, but I know FMA and Hilozu struggle to get the LAN going, and even though they did an amazing job as usual, they could be the hardest worker in the world if the community don't follow them. There won't be another LAN. So obviously, maybe if you can get some Euro teams next time again, something bigger could be happening. But I think at the moment it's really hard to see a future for TF2 French LAN.
Ombrack's just salty that he lost. I think he'll definitely be there,
Well, if there's one, I'll be there, of course. Like, I'll never miss a LAN because it's so much fun. But
yeah. But no, I think Ilosu, I was talking to him afterwards, and I think he's keen to sort of put it on next year at least. He was saying that it seems like every year, like the the week after people are a bit glum, like, oh, this is going to be the last French LAN, but they always seem to pull it out of the bag. So I don't know. I hope that more European teams, like I don't know if like Seven or other sort of top teams, even if maybe try and get an American team over. If I don't know if I'm being too hopeful here, but you never know. If we just get more people keen in it might be bigger.
I'd say that's slightly hopeful.
You never know.
So moving forward, the future now. ETF2L next season. There have been some pretty interesting looking projects coming together. But how are both of your seasons looking coming up personally? Like Ombrack, is there any roster moves happening in your team?
Yeah, because Blade is probably quitting the game, so we need to find a new scout. And Medico doesn't want to play pocket anymore, so maybe I dropped him too much on too many Ubers, but he is fed up of pocketing and he wants either to roam or to play scout. So we'll have to figure that out. But with the years passing by, it's becoming really, really hard to get good French players that can perform at a consistent level, because that's been our strength so far. Playing only with French people, calling in French, that's been quite shaped up the team so far. But today, there's some few leads maybe to stay in our French lineup with some people swapping class and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe we'll have to open our gates to some European players. We'll see how it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I did notice, that when Overwatch came in and all that, the probably two of the really big nations in TF2, I suppose, France and Sweden, were really heavily hit in terms of the players that were available and stuff like that, which certainly couldn't have helped you at all. zeFrosty, how are you planning to cast a lot this season? How are you planning it out?
Well, I'm planning on playing next season as well, so hopefully I'll find some spare time, but I'm going to probably play on like a high team as Soldier. Hopefully I don't suck too bad, but if I do, then I'll just drop that and just cast the rest of the season, I guess. I mean, there's no reason not to, but I'm keen to keep casting anyway, so I'll do it as much as I can.
You should. I think, if I may, I think season 24, what season did we just end it? Season 26. Okay, season 25 was a bit weak on the casting side, I think. I didn't watch a lot of games, but the few I caught were I don't know, a bit clunky and stuff. But I feel that this season 26, was a lot better on the production side. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but I felt like the new blood that came into the team and stuff, really, the stream just bring out his A game again, and I think it's good for the game. I think people noticed it, with people coming in. Most prominently, I think News did a great job at analyzing them, and people actually enjoyed it. So hopefully, on streaming side, it will keep up on this way, because I think it's a good one.
No, you're absolutely right, because before this, season 26, there was a massive reshuffle. I mean, you say you didn't see many streams in season 25. That's because there weren't many. Like, there was like one game a week was being casted, but TFTV kind of stepped it up, recruited new people. Like, for example, I started writing, but they got a lot of new casters in, including a certain Scotsman. And
I've been around for longer than that.
Oh yeah, true, but
I guess you mean News. Okay, whatever.
News. I wasn't even talking about you, but News. He's just suddenly become one of the accepted one of the biggest, most knowledgeable people in Europe in TF2, I suppose. And not thanks to his YouTube, but also his work for TFTV has been really good. Turbo Tabs has done a great job coordinating everyone. It's the production's been much better this season, and you can thank Turbo Tabs for that. But anyway, moving on. The Samzy, Cadus, Suave, Cool Kids, whatever roster is coming together. Do you think that's actually going to do anything? They're saying that they're going to play up to 2 or 3 times a week together, which is much more than previous super teams in the recent era, such as Epsilon. where I remember Numlocked literally played the official and no other TF2 for the entire 7 days between games. So, do you see this roster achieving much?
We've played them once already, and as I expected, they weren't really good. I mean, they have big names on paper, of course, and like I know Cadus hasn't been playing for ages, and Cookie neither. So it's promising, but at the moment, I don't think they're like I don't know what we're talking about there. But if we think about people that can challenge Seven, they are miles away from it. I think I don't know. Maybe not in season 26 Prem, but I've heard about a lot of good teams wanting to go in Prem for season 27, and I think in this perfect Prem they would struggle to be in mid-table even. So I think that they would have a lot of work but if they want to kin a bit, maybe they could do some great stuff because they have really great players in the teams, people that have known the tops in the past, and when you've been to the top, you don't really want to go back to the people you don't really know about. So I was excited, but I actually knew that they would struggle a bit, at least at the beginning. But yeah, with people like Cadus and Samzy, you expect some great things, and maybe that will happen. Of course, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier, and I think they're not quite doing as well as you would have thought they would at the moment. But I think that's just because they're all a bit like rusty. Maybe I know Samsy's been playing a few pugs here and there recently, but I think players like Cookie, who barely touched the game in the past year and a half or so, and then what is it, Buttnose, who hasn't played on a proper team for countless seasons. He's like sort of merked about, but they've got so much talent there. But I think they just need to kind of work on their synergy and stuff like that. And I think if they're only planning on playing like 2 or 3 times a week, they're not going to really be able to challenge the top teams like Nerd Rage, Seven, and whatever other teams come along.
Yeah. Especially Cadus, I think, is a bit of an unknown. Like he literally, like, when he stopped playing, for a very good reason, obviously, when he stopped playing, he was on the top. He was the best man in Europe. So the idea that it's a bit, we're not really sure how often he can play, but if he can improve, he could probably get back to being the best man in Europe if he was playing at his peak, right? And the same with Samzy. Samzy was like one of the best scouts when he last played a season properly. So yeah, the peak for this team is pretty high. Yeah, it's just very difficult to see how near this peak they can reach.
I think you have to put in comparison the 2 times that these people played and the times of today. I think back in the days, I've been talking about it with news, but back in the days, people were more smart in their game and rely a bit less on their DM. And I think today it's the opposite. People came out of nowhere because they had really strong DM, really strong mechanical skills, but maybe less knowledge of the game. And that's why I'm interested about this team. As they're only, like, how you call them, washed up players, they actually know a lot about the games, about how it works, and maybe they can bring back a bit of the clever side of TF2, which today is like dictated by the strong DM scouts and stuff like that, and airshotting machine. But the game has been lacking strong main callers in the past seasons, I think. And maybe with these players coming back, they can bring some kind of ancient fresh air to the game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so would you say that if, like, there were 2 teams, one was this team and the other one was people like Tiger, who are massive DM beasts, but without any sort of coherent caller or anything like that, you'd say that Tiger's team would win?
I think they would. Probably, if that game was to happen today, they would win by a really huge march, maybe like even 5-0. I don't know. I know we 5-0 them with Nerd Rage, and we're not DM donkeys in any place, besides maybe medical and quarterback. So as of today, they would get smashed, I think. But if they actually want to key in and bring maybe step up the game a bit, I think they could be tough challengers to beat. Maybe not to win again, maybe not to be the first, but at least to make it to the playoffs and then show what the Rusty Bones can do.
Okay, I think it's that pretty much covers most things. Are there any teams in high that you see that could sort of rise up and challenge for playoffs? Either of you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, right, okay. I guess, I mean, if Hello Kitty Ninjas stay together, they could potentially do it. I think they probably should have won high, but they kind of fluffed it against the Weebs in whatever round of playoffs. I think it was the semi-finals, but I think also Lolly Squad could do it. I mean, I think they've got the same kind of thing where they've got some really good players on there, but I think they just need to kind of get their coordination up a wee bit. I think they kind of rely on Genk sniping a wee bit too much sometimes, but yeah, those two teams are the ones that kind of stand out to me at the moment. I think Nuke Clan probably could have done alright, but I think they've died at this point, so it's not looking too hopeful.
Yeah, I think War's team Yeshkin could do really well if War actually wants to play seriously the game, because I always feel like he's just trolling or memeing or doing some weird shit at the moment. But we, from the rumors I've heard, we could have a really, really, really good Prem season next year. You get Kato's team, you get like all the teams that were in Prem this season, like Seven, Foxes, Nodrage, Lopander, Lemmings, Nunya. And then you have HKM, you have Kato's team, you have Am's team that looks ridiculously strong. You have maybe Lego Reform. I don't know, it's been in the rumors, so maybe it will happen. You have I've heard about some Russian team as well with I don't know. I think we could have a really, really strong showing next season. One a Prem that we have needed for a long time, I think. And I'm really, really looking forward to see what's going to happen in the playoffs, how it's going to sort out, and who's going to be in the rankings next season, because we could have a really stacked, a really good Prem next season.
Yeah, speaking of Hello Kitty Ninjas, probably definitely in the main season the strongest looking team in high because they won literally all their games. Then in the playoffs they didn't win a single game because they got an automatic bye to the semi-finals, and then when they get to the semis they lose really narrowly. I'm looking at the scores now. It was 3-2, 3-2, and 3-2 across 3 maps, and Lolly Squad won it. But the thing is, like, Kitty Ninjas should have beaten them. They had one Merc. Serotonin wasn't there, and instead of Serotonin, they had Turbo, and Turbo's not really a slacker, you know. But in the main season, Kitty Ninjas won 6-1 and 4-3 across 2 maps. Like, I don't really know. And Serotonin's, I think, already said he's not playing next season. At least not with them. He might be going to Amza's team, I think. So that is pretty worrying. War hasn't really taken Prem too seriously the last couple of times he's played in it. So yeah, it's tough to see them really doing much unless they get some quite experienced player or just a very good player in their lineup. But they do still have a lot of potential and they have a lot of talent in there, so that's certainly a good shout.
I think about I'm not in War's head or anything, but maybe he didn't want to keen because it wasn't worth it, because competition wasn't really good, and if you beat this season, Prem wasn't really good. I think everyone can admit that. But if the next season is filled with all these super teams with old players coming back and stuff, maybe War will see some potential to have really good games, and maybe he shows that he's not only a meme on cast. So on this side, I'm optimistic, and I actually think if the level increase and people's motivation to be actually good at the game will increase as well.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything of War left inside them at this point. Like, he was always just good at aiming. Now he's not even the best aimer on Demoman. What is he? But yeah. Do we have any last final words? Any summary? Anything that we haven't covered? Either of your opinions?
I have actually no clue. LAN was fun. Everyone should go to LAN, and hopefully we'll see each other at I-61.
zeFrosty, can you echo this cheerful sentiment?
Yeah, basically the same thing. I think we're all good. GA was definitely a worthwhile experience. I mean, even I wasn't playing it and I had tons of fun just even hanging out with, seeing everyone there. So even if your team's not Prem or High or whatever, you should definitely try and make a mixed team. Just go for the fun of it, really.